Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Entity Frost, a professional 2.6 hog player, and in this video I want to explain how to win against recruits hogs. Now this is not the classic recruits hogs deck which you might know of. However, I'll be making a video on that deck pretty soon. So in this video instead I'm going to be looking at a variation of that which doesn't have zappies, and it's still going to be a very interesting matchup. Now, this deck is pretty hard for 2.6 Hog because of a few things. First thing is the Fisherman, which the classic recruits deck doesn't have. And secondly, because of Goblin Cage. And these things make it pretty hard for our Hog Rider to break through, of course, because they're both like hard counters of Hog Rider. Especially with Evo Goblin Cage, which is going to be pretty annoying for us to break through. And the second thing is because recruits are pretty hard for us to defend. Like they come from both sides, and it's pretty easy to get overwhelmed and basically like just lose the game from a single recruit's hogs push. So in this video I want to explain how you can actually win against this deck. So, first thing we do is of course play cannon in the middle because they spam royal hogs at the bridge. So remember, if they play royal hogs at the bridge, split like that, it's always good to play cannon in the middle, like that. And of course musketeer to, you know, finish it off. And because they play fisherman right there, I just decided to, you know, pressure him with Ice Golem Hog Rider opposite lane. But of course he has Goblin Cage, which counters everything. Now the way to win this matchup is we need to be patient and we need to figure out his full deck first before doing anything crazy. And of course, he has Firecracker, which isn't in the classic Raw Recruits deck. So we can activate King Tower by simply playing Cannon on displacement. And yeah, Recruits are going to be pretty annoying, but because we have King Tower, this is going to be much easier for us to defend. And so that's going to be basically the main savior of our this matchup is our King Tower. Now, the way to deal with hogs at the bridge is, first of all, we can either play cannon or we can play fireball, and if we don't have either of those, then we can just Ice Spirit, and then we can even, you know, log if it's gonna do too much damage. And of course we have musketeer, but it all depends on how much elixir you have. If you don't have much elixir, then you need to see if they have arrows or not, because if they have arrows, then your skeletons won't really do much, and it might be better off saving up for musketeer and also log. Now this Ice Golem was kind of a bait to see if he would play Goblin Cage, and he didn't take the bait, but I decided to go Hog Rider anyway because it's technically still an even trade, so it doesn't really matter. Now he plays hogs at the bridge again, split, and so of course I'll just play cannon. And this is the main thing, right? If they ever play recruits at the back, then, and you also know they don't have Goblin Cage because they just played it like right here, then you can go for Hog Rider Ice Golem at the bridge. And even if he has Fisherman, it doesn't matter because of this placement right here. Because we play the Ice Golem in front, then wherever he plays the Fisherman, it's always going to hook the Ice Golem. And of course we activate ability to give us more time to deal damage. And look how much damage we got just from that. Now of course the counter push is going to be pretty hard to defend, but always remember, right, flying machine is pretty hard to deal with, so in most cases you want to fireball their flying machine. Now you might be asking, okay, what if they go royal hogs? Don't you just lose because you don't have fireball? But that's where we have to cycle back to another cannon quickly. Or another option is to keep our existing cannon alive before it dies, so they can't really hogs, you know, effectively. And now we can just go in again to keep, you know, making him spend elixir. Now, I think I should have played ability here to freeze everything, but it is what it is. And the main thing is, Musketeer, you should really want to keep your Musketeer alive at all times, because your Musketeer is pretty much the only thing that's going to be dealing the most damage to their troops. Of course you have your Princess Towers as well, but that's not really going to be enough. And also your cannon. Like you can see here, as soon as I lost my Musketeer, it's very easy to get overwhelmed with recruits and just him spamming at the bridge. So this is where it gets kind of scary because I don't have my Musketeer. And obviously, okay, honestly, that Ice Golem wasn't the best placement because it gave him Firecracker value. Kind of forgot about that. But yeah, also this cannon placement wasn't the best because, again, that Fireball was just not good. And actually gave him a chance back at the game. But you can see just how easy it is to get overwhelmed if you don't have your Musketeer back. Like this entire sequence right here, it only worked because of my Musketeer. Like my Musketeer took down his Firecracker and also took down his Goblin Brawler and stayed alive to deal even more damage. But that just shows to you how important it is to keep your Musketeer alive in this matchup, because it really is your only source of defense. Now, at this point, it's pretty much anyone's game because, like, the damage is so close anyway. But obviously, try to, you know, play cannon on this tile, or like one tile to the right, because this will give you the most versatile defense across the entire map. Like you can defend the right side as well. Now here is when, you know, decision making becomes important. Like I played Hero Ice Golem here, but he played Royal Hogs on the left side. So do I fireball his flying machine or the Royal Hogs? Now I fireballed the Royal Hogs because even though like I can fireball the flying machine, the Royal Hogs are going to be like dealing a lot of damage, and it can easily just catch up to the right tower and it will easily just like, you know, destroy me. And in the meantime, I could just play Hero Ice Golem ability to freeze all of his troops and then give me more time to defend. Right, just like that. And even though it's just one fisherman hit, it doesn't really matter. Well, I guess it does kind of matter because the damage is so close. But at this point, it's really about handling all the pressure that he throws at us. And Hero Ice Golem is going to be very good here because it just freezes everything. And you can notice how, like, he's like spamming everything, right? But as long as we have our Musketeer and it stays alive, we can still like take down his troops fairly simply because Musketeer is like very good. And you see, like right here, I'm trying my best to keep my Musketeer alive because that's literally what's keeping me in the game at this point. But yeah, there's like 15 seconds left and I kind of have to go for Hog Rider because there's nothing else I can do. And he actually messes up here and lets me get a hit. and then I can just fireball and win the game. So, in summary, the most important thing you need to remember when you're playing raw recruits and hogs is you need to find the opportunity when they play recruits at the back and they also don't have their goblin cage in cycle. So I think it was at this point. Yeah, it was at this point when, you know, I played Hog Rider and then I quickly cycled back to another Hog Rider. And then as soon as he played recruits at the back, he doesn't have a goblin cage. And so I can just play Hog Rider Ice Golem at the bridge. And he has nothing to do with it. He can't like defend it. Even if he plays Fisherman, I can just activate ability on the Ice Golem. And that's how I got the majority of the damage that basically won me the game. And the second thing to remember in this matchup is you really want to keep your Musketeer alive, because it really is the main defense that you're gonna have, especially against his recruits. Like you can see at the end here, you can just see how much value like this Musketeer got throughout this entire sequence, because without it I probably would have just lost the game because I couldn't handle the recruits pressure. So that's the second thing, keep your Musketeer alive. And the third thing is when he plays Flying Machine, you really want to take care of it quickly before it gets too much value, because in 2.6 Hog there isn't anything you can do against Flying Machine except for just playing Fireball or like Musketeer sniping it, because especially if they have recruits in front, if they have recruits in front of the Flying Machine, I think it was around here. Yeah. You can't really defend his Flying Machine because like your tower will only be focused on his recruits, and also your Musketeer won't be able to hit his Flying Machine because the recruits are in front. So you kind of just have to fireball the Flying Machine. And yeah, that's basically like the main principles you must follow if you want to win against recruits hogs. And of course you can see like at many points, at many stages of the game, whenever he played Flying Machine, I would always try to like get rid of it as quick as I can. Like for example here, he played Flying Machine at the back, always just fireball that. And if he ends up playing like Royal Hogs because you don't have fireball, then you can play Cannon, or if your Cannon's not available, then you kind of just have to play like a bunch of cards and then log it if necessary. And yeah, that's basically how to win against this recruits matchup. Now this isn't the classic Royal Recruits Hogs deck. That will be covered in one of my next videos, so if you want to see that, then stay tuned. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.